Assalamu alaikum, Jad.
وعليكم السلام الشيخ علامة أهلا وسهلا ما شاء الله.
Bro, the mashallah we have is you, man. How are you getting on?
I'm going good, man. How about you?
Bro, you're the mashallah, but we are little bit restricted with our religious limitations. Otherwise, man, I'd put your picture all over the place. And it's like you can train as hard as you want, you can kill yourself unless you sort your lifestyle, your nutrition. But then, nutrition is tied to lifestyle, as you understand. It's tied to the lifestyle. So if if you change your lifestyle, your nutrition will change. But you can't change your nutrition in isolation of your lifestyle because it's going to drag you back.
No, it's absolutely. When I see people now I've not seen for a few months and stuff, which is pretty much everyone because of the lockdown, when they say, "What have you done?" I go, "I've changed my diet. Yeah, fine. I've or nutrition rather. Don't start on me. And we've been doing work. I'm doing exercises. But if you want to summarize it into one point, what I've done differently is I've changed my mindset. I've changed my mentality, and that's the key to everything."
Because that is something I get that part I struggle with, but in terms of trying to get people to understand. Look, first thing they'll ask me, "What's the diet plan you can give me?" Are you gonna give me a diet plan? I need a diet plan. I need a workout plan. And I'm always like, if you want something like that, it's cheap. Go on Google, type in diet plan, you'll get a million. Type in workout plan. I said, your problems are a lot more deeper than that. They're not a simple fix as, if you're bleeding, if you've got a bullet wound and you put a plaster over it, right? That's all you're doing. With a diet plan, with the rest of it, with just a diet plan or just a workout plan, you're trying to plaster over a bullet wound.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the industry's fault though, because they think that you need a diet plan, yes, you need this, yes, you need that, and that's what we know, and that's the industry's fault really.
Yeah, and of course, what makes it worse is you see all these 5-minute ads, and honestly, you get major celebrities. I was going to critique of this. Thankfully, alhamdulillah, it's changing now. More people like myself are coming out and calling people out and calling trainers and celebrities and stuff out. To start off with, tell me about yourself, where you're from, what you do.
Okay, so my name is Amjad. I am a pharmacist. I have been born and raised in Manchester. Proud Manc, supporter of the main football team here as well, mashallah. And
which was the main football team? Come on, let's hear it. Which was the main football team?
It's the red side, the one that's got 20 Premier League trophies and 3 Champions League trophies. Not the other ones, not the nosy neighbours, So this is me, and kind of just on my my journey to kind of how I got to yourself. I kind of track back to myself as to when I started kind of putting weight on, if you like, and I was speaking to my wife about it actually. I was like, when did I actually start doing it? Putting this on, and she goes, it's the time when you had basically a trauma in your life, but when your dad passed away, and I was like, Brass, actually, you know what? It all correlates here. It all makes sense. Which I'll come on to later about kind of how kind of your mental state, your sleep, and so on and so forth is very important to kind of the plan. And then from then, just been obese for so many years, for about coming up to about a decade really. And along the journey, I knew it was a problem because I work in healthcare. We consult patients about this all the time, and the element of hypocrisy as well about it. You're speaking about diet, eating the right things. You're speaking about exercise, and then looking in the mirror, you're like, oh, this is a bit awkward, really, isn't it? So anyway, along the journey, I thought, okay, I need to do something about this. I need to remedy this. So you thought, okay, I need to get a gym membership, right? So you get your gym membership. You don't do nothing with it, but it just feels good that you are a part of that establishment, mashallah. Again, did it do anything for me? Not necessarily, no. I thought, okay, right, this isn't working for me. I need to get a PT, right? So I got the PT and went there. He's a nice guy, mashallah. And I would go, I don't want to give up on the session, that credit to me for doing that, but I would go and I'd get absolutely shafted, absolutely hammered. He was screaming and shouting at me. I remember one session, I was sick during the session. I was
Wow.
physically sick during the session, and the trainer was buzzing. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is good, this is great," and I was like, "This is just strange to me." But anyway, whatever. That didn't work for me because I went to the sessions, didn't really work out for me, and I was like, well, whatever. It comes back to what you said as well. You go to the session, you work your socks off, and then you feel that you come home, you're absolutely battered. And with that session that you did with the trainer, you're then expected to do that session 2-3 more times before you go back to him the week after. That's not going to happen because you're recovering for 3 days. You can't move the muscle. Honestly, you can't move. Honestly. So anyway, lost a little bit of weight, and then it just went back up because there was no emphasis on nutrition. Anyway, going forward, then I was like, right, forget exercise. I need to sort my nutrition out. Very important. So I had a mate at work, and he was very meticulous with all of his food. He has meal preps and all. I was like, right, teach me how to look at my nutrition. He goes, okay, yeah, all you need to do is put it into MyFitnessPal, and jobs are good, and you can track your calories. I was like, okay, that's fine. How do you do that exactly? He goes, you have to weigh your food. And I was like, I have to weigh your food, weigh it, like put it on the scales and stuff. He was like, yeah. So I'm there thinking to myself that, okay, that's fine. I did it for one day. I got some Kellogg's just right. I remember it. Weighed it out. I had a normal portion. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of calories, man. And then just gave up because, again, I was just trying to do too much too fast. And then, did a bit of that. And, we were still active here and there, climbed out, Snowdon a couple of times, did a 5K Tough Mudder thing in Cheetham Mill, what's it called, Heaton Park and stuff, little bits and bobs, and tried. But again, it was nothing substantial, by which I got to the point where I was like, I really need to get this sorted. And then just by chance, I just came across you on Facebook. And I was like, you know what? This guy speaks to me because he's speaking to the Desi dad. And I am Dil Pakistan. I am the Desi dad. I know you're from Bangladesh, happy independence, 50 years and all that sort of things, but it speaks to me because because when you speak to a trainer or a nutritionist, like, you have to cut out curry. And I'm thinking, I can't cut out curry because I eat curry 3-4 times a week. I come to see my mum, for example, and that's what's available. So cutting it out, and I'm like, it's not going to work, So then I saw you speak to Desi dads, and I thought, yeah, this guy, this is the banda. So I got a few references. I spoke to Wajahat. You might know him, not known him for a long time. He's like, is this guy legit? Is he kosher? He's like, yeah, he's the guy. So I was like, yeah, let's just go and do it. But to me, personally, my time is more valuable than my money. Okay, I'm just being honest, because money will come and go, right? And time will not. Time is just going to go. Time is just going to disappear, and it's just going to be, it's going to finish at one point. So, and then I thought to myself, Amjad, is the price I paid, is that worth your health? And being very honest with you, Adam, by that, if I was to go back, I would happily pay triple the price, because there's no price on your health. There's no price on your health and your well-being. And I look back, look now, kind of how my life's changed over the 12 weeks and stuff. I'm, alhamdulillah, everything like holistically is so much better. Like things like my family life is happier. I'm much more active. I'm getting much more stuff done. My kind of state of mind is much better too. It's holistically improved me, in all regards. I'm playing with my daughter, much more. All she wants to do is, she's 4 years old. She wants to just run and jump. So I'm like, and she's getting tired now. And she's getting tired. I'm getting dizzy, getting tired. I'm like, how things have changed, mashallah, tabarakallah. So in essence, it's priceless, So, that's kind of my story, if you like.
Now imagine, right? So you said you struggled with it for 10 years, but for a decade you've been putting on weight. Had you discovered something like this 10 years ago, that 10 years of struggle would have been eliminated. And can you put a price on 10 years of your life?
No.
You can't, can you? You can't. You could have, what you're experiencing now, you could have experienced that 10 years ago. And right now, you could have possibly been in like a cover model physique. Inshallah, we'll still get you there. But imagine, sorry, how old are you again now?
I'm 31.
31. imagine you got to that physique though at 22. You would have enjoyed life so much more. Like, you're doing amazing. Because I mean, it's difficult to get people to understand that. Once you get to that physique, honestly, it's something else. It's something else. So once you get there, you're not gonna exchange it for the world.
Yeah. And just on reflection as well, like people have thought that the weight loss process, it's hard, it's meticulous. Honestly, I've really enjoyed it. I've found it so interesting. And I was supposed to comment on when you put on your Facebook, like what have you achieved this week? And I was gonna write there, I was like, firstly that the process is actually quite fun. Like at the moment, I'm competing with my brother-in-law, as you know. I'm competing, and it's just a bit of a motivation for both of us, if you like, a race to the bottom, I call it. But also, like the process, it's like if I, for instance, now if I lose a kilogram this week, or if I lose half a kilogram this week, I'm at a point now where I know exactly why I've lost half or I've lost a full kilogram, and it's quite interesting as well, because I did this, I didn't do this, and does that mean because I lost less, I'm going to now fail and think, oh, forget it now, the whole thing's pointless? No, you change, you modify, you adapt, and you carry on. And yeah, it's been good. It's been interesting. It's been I've enjoyed it.
It's not draconian, is it? It's not killer. It's not draconian. And when it's not killer and it's not draconian, it's easy to maintain. Like with myself, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you must have amazing willpower." I don't. Willpower doesn't really even come into it much.
Yeah.
If I had to battle with willpower every day, I'd be fat.
Yeah.
I'd be fat. But it's.
Yeah. I mean, people are under the impression that that I have to eat chicken and broccoli every day, for example, 3 times a day. But in reality, you don't, because I'm here at a point where I've lost a total of 22 kilograms so far, and I could say comfortably I've been eating a takeaway. I'm talking a greasy takeaway, not a take. I'm talking a proper takeaway, like maybe once every 2 weeks, once every week even. So but it's an isolated incident. It's not that one meal you're looking at. You're looking at 21 meals in the day, and if one of them is bad, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, fine. You're hindering your progress, fine, but whatever. You want to still be normal. You still want to be living your life.
Of course, and that's the important part, isn't it? You're still able to live your life. So tell me a bit more about what's your experience been like of the program as a whole. Oh, sorry, I wanted to touch on as well before I forget. You had that knee injury. That was a big thing. See, a lot of people, I think when people are looking for excuses, they can find millions, right? And today I put up a post up. Sometimes I get brothers who say, "Oh well, I'm struggling because my wife's not preparing the meals for me, or my wife's not doing this for me," and it's just they'll find anything. When you're looking for excuses, you can find a million. But yourself, you had this knee injury, like serious knee injury, and you still,
I mean, just the knee injury that happened when we were playing football, I think in September time, and it was actually during the program by which I went for the MRI scan, and also had it diagnosed, and it was quite easy to find an excuse to be, to say, this is, because it's a major injury, it's an ACL, it's what Van Dijk's got currently, that he's been out for 9 months, so it's a major injury, but it's down to you and your own willpower. I could have used that as an excuse and just rolled over that, I'm Bamar, I can't be bothered doing it. But no, we carried on. And all I had to do was quite simply modify the exercises. So I knew, for instance, I couldn't do a jumping lunge, for example, because that would compromise the stability of the knee, which I can't do. But I can just do a normal lunge, and it's not a problem whatsoever. So you just have to modify whatever you can and carry on. And a knee injury is independent of eating nutritiously. It has nothing to do with that. So it just comes down to your exercise, really. That's all it is. And you can easily modify it. It's not a problem. You just need to know how to and carry on. So even today, a few days ago, we were doing jumping squats. I said, I can't do a jumping squat because it will compromise the thingy. But rather than that, I'll do 10 normal squats as opposed to you lot doing 5 jumping squats. Sorted.
Yeah.
Days.
And then how easy was it to modify stuff for yourself? What's the process? Because just for the viewers.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I asked yourself about certain things as well. So the issue I had with the knee was if I'm doing like an up and down motion with the knee like this, it's completely fine. If, however, I pivot on the knee, then it's a problem for me. It's the ACL. So, for instance, so everything had to be modified that would work. And I spoke to you during the program as well. I was like, I can't do X, Y, and Z. How can I change it? And then you quite simply, came and changed it for us. And in essence, that's what you're there for, because as you said, you've been there, done that. You know what you're doing in this regard. So come and speak to me. And that's what we need to do. In essence, I've got to come to you.
Yeah, I've got a million regressions and a million progressions, and it's just a case of me going into the app and changing the exercises.
Yeah.
And I could do that quite easily. And every week we have on the progress report, I ask you as well, are there any exercises that you found either too easy or too difficult?
Yeah.
If it's too easy, we need to make it tougher. If it's too difficult, we need to regress it. So we have that process in place to change things as required. And of course, before it was Voxer, but I'm on Telegram now, which is better. So tell me about your experience of the journey and how your life has changed now.
Can I just go back to one point you mentioned before about
sure.
The food, about my wife makes food and sort of thing. Now I need to touch on this point because it's a big point for me. Like, coming from a Desi household by which the women do everything and the men just sit down and do jack. Yeah, fine. That's how it was back in the day for our parents and our grandparents, and it worked for them, and that's good for them. We live in a different generation now, by which our women work, right? Be that a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not getting into that discussion, right? Our women work. So the dynamics of the house have now changed. Now, for us to rely on them to do absolutely everything is perhaps just not feasible, and using it as another excuse to not move a muscle, okay? And from my understanding is we have our religion and we have our culture. Now, our culture says that the men don't do jack and the women do everything, right? Whereas we go into what is better, what is afdal, is our religion, right? And then we look into the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the role of the house was that the man goes out and works and the woman kind of does her stuff at home. That's what we are religiously taught. However, our perfect example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would help out at home. He would help out at home. Okay, so we want to speak about what is the epitome of manhood, what is the epitome of kind of character traits is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if it's good enough for him, it's absolutely good enough for you, because we're emulating his way. So in essence, this day and age, if we want to help out, like, it's not reducing your manlyhood. No, it's increasing your manlyhood. It's increasing your character traits. It's increasing your attachment to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So sorry, brothers, to break your kind of traditions here, or your egos or whatever, but sorry, not sorry.
Absolutely. It's got to be said. I mean, only the other day I was on the British Muslim TV, sponsored by Single Muslim thing, and I was asked that as well. And I said, look, it's important that man is able to look after himself. For me, the trait of an alpha male is not an authoritarian male who's able to make everyone submit to his will and be a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
Authoritarian dictator. That is not my understanding of an alpha male. I had this misconstrued understanding many years ago, and I even mentioned this on the Single Muslim thing, and I believe it contributed to my divorce, because I had this issue. Because I was culture. I had this weird amalgamation of culture and religion, and I thought, like, okay, to be a man, you had to be able to just be an authoritarian. But as I've become older and wiser,
mm-hmm.
I really believe every male should be able to look after himself completely independent of anybody else. Mm-hmm. Be able to cook for himself, everything. And of course, especially the younger generation, I encourage my children to do that, because, like I said, it helps to create much more harmony. in relationship, especially in the future and for young people now. That's another great thing about the program, is that I've niched it down to one demographic, and we have similar issues and similar problems and similar concerns, and we're able to resolve them and discuss them amongst ourselves. So yeah, that's a great thing. So tell me about your experience of the whole journey and how your life's changed. You've already mentioned, like, you've got more energy with your daughter, and things like that. Well, how else has your life changed? And tell us a bit more about the experience of Fit Dad Life Mastery, going through the process.
So when I signed up, I was being honest, I think with everybody, you're quite overwhelmed. You're like, oh my God, there's like so much here. There's a Voxter, there's emails, there's Facebook, there's this other Facebook, there's, it does take time to just kind of get used to it. But when that first email hits, I think the email's the key, is the week one, which is just, I think, is it 10 minutes exercise? Just 10 minutes. And you think to yourself, 10 minutes, you know what? I can do 10 minutes. 10 minutes is doable, right? And then throughout the process, it builds up until you're doing, a fairly good chunk of half an hour, if you like. So, that it's doable. It's doable, and it's done in a way by which it is sensible as well. If you were to go to a PT and do 40 minutes from nothing to 40 minutes and get absolutely shafted, it's not going to work. Okay, and then you have, the nutrition and stuff, and it was done in a way which is very delicate and very careful, because one of the problems I had was I didn't know how to eat. I know how to eat, of course. I didn't know how to eat like nutritiously. So when you think nutritiously, normally you'd have 2 fried eggs and 3 toast, and you think, right, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to eat nutritious, so I'm going to have 2 toast rather than 3, for example. You just don't know how. But then, what's important is that people have this obsession about meal plans, whereas they don't necessarily need meal plans. They just need the principles of a meal plan, and then apply that to how they want to live their lives. Okay, so in essence, I adapted the same method to what you're doing yourself, by which you have most of your carbs in the evening, because I thought to myself, okay, what can I control and what can I not control? So I can control my breakfast, okay? So I'm under control, so I can eat exactly what I want. I can control my lunch, okay? So I'm going to control my lunch. My dinner, I can control, but I may well struggle with. Okay, so therefore I will have my carbs in the evening, and then I will, do as I like for the first 2. Now, everyone's different. They may have a different way by which they want to do it. Now, if you were to give them a meal plan with, let's just say, olives. Olives is a good example. You have to eat olives at this time. Olives, you either love them or you hate them. Okay, I'm of the latter group. So if you were to have a meal plan, then you would not follow it, because I don't like olives. So you follow the principles of the meal plan, if you like, by which, okay, I don't like olives, but I can substitute it with something which is equally calorie dense and will fill me up instead, like courgettes. I don't know what's equivalent to it, if you like. Courgettes, I like them, they're good for me, so it works. So that was in terms of like the diet aspect. So we've got the diet and exercise. But the most important thing, like I said to you before, is the more holistic approach, is changing your mindset, is changing your thought process. Rather than saying the word, I'm on a diet, you should say, I am changing my lifestyle. Okay? Because a diet is restrictive. A diet is temporal. It's like being in a prison. I'm going to be in this prison for 30 days and then come out and I'm going to be doing whatever I want to do. No. You are changing your lifestyle. Okay? And simultaneously, you are changing your kind of thought process, your mentality as well. So something like the breathing. Okay? I mentioned this on one of the earlier posts. Every week we were told to breathe a certain amount of times. Just breathing. We breathe every single day, but just having conscious breaths in the nose and out the mouth. Okay? That is very, very important. It's very important. Why? Because you likewise, alongside the diet and exercise, we need to be able to control we need to be able to kind of control our mentality and have a good, state of mind, and to reduce our stress levels as well. Very, very important. Very, very important in this process as well. And then, that alongside sleeping well, it's a complete process. It's a complete process. Like going back to the PT, and I'm slamming the PT quite a lot. That's 1 hour that you go to see him or her. What about the other X amount of hours in the week? Okay, the X amount of hours that you spend away from the PT are perhaps more important than getting bullied for 40 minutes. you know. So the point being, it's a holistic process. Okay, everything changes. It's not just an isolated thing. I want to change this, going to change that. You change a bit of everything, what you can in your capacity.
And I'm going to touch on that. The reason why sleep. So when you don't get enough sleep, you feel stressed. When you feel stressed, you crave sugary foods and you crave other high energy foods. Yeah. Now, trying to fix the symptoms is not the solution. You need to get to the root cause, and really, it's your sleep, it's your stress levels, and we do the breathing to control your stress levels. Typically, diet plans actually increase your stress because you're worried about, oh, what can I eat? What can I eat? Oh my God, I can't eat this. And then you start missing foods that you enjoy as well. So typically, diet plans increase your stress levels. Yeah. We, on the other hand, we try and bring your stress levels down, and we try and make it like a non-torturous process. You know, it's not doing anything under sufferance. And the other thing that I want to touch on with you as well, because at some point I introduced calorie counting and I teach people how to calorie count. And I recall you saying to me, look, that doesn't gel with me, calorie counting. Yeah. And I said, fine, don't calorie count. And despite not calorie counting, you know, you still lost weight. And I've said, you don't need to calorie count. That's one tool that you can use if you want to. Yeah. And I show you the various tools that are available to you.
Yeah, I mean, just on that point of calorie counting, for me, it was you know, going back to what I tried to do before, and it didn't work out for me. So I in essence, I had a bit of a fear stroke skepticism about doing it. I was like, oh man, you know, I did it before. Even going further than that, just on a different point, when I used to go to the gym initially, back in the day when I would go for you know, whatever I used to do, I used to go down a certain entrance. When I started going more recently, over the last 3-4 months, I would take a different entrance because it was, to me, it was a psychological point that this way has not worked for me. Okay, I'm going to go through the gym this way instead. Okay, until I think got to like week 4, I'm like, no, Amjad, you're going to go down this way, this entrance here, and you're going to, in essence, come over your phobia or the issues that you had previously or whatever it was. Okay, the same with the calorie counting as well. Like I was told, okay, count your calories. And I've not been very meticulous in doing it, I agree. But I'm at start of the process by which I now know that I need to do it. It's important to do. And I'm happy to do it. It's not a problem. And it's not as because, you know, initially I had a lot of weight to lose. And now I'm at a stage by which I still have much more to do. But I need to be perhaps a bit more meticulous with it all in terms of I need to increase the intensity of the workouts and I need to be more kind of thorough as to what I am eating and I'm not eating. And that's quite important as well. So that's how I did it. So it's overcoming, for me, it was overcoming kind of, you know, a previous failure and the fear of kind of spiraling down again into that. But now I'm over it, so let's calorie count.
Yeah. So you know, when you were telling me about when you're training really hard, you're clearly training very, very hard, right, in the gym. So when you're training so hard and then you weren't seeing a result, like what was going through your head? Like, because everyone thinks it's about the hard workouts. You need to get this. I get messages like that all the time. And even new people who sign up new, if they've got gym experience, the first thing they turn to is give us your wildest workouts. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I give it them, and 9 times out of 10, they burn out. And then they just wither away. Like, they think that they had, like I said, they develop this negative association. They think, oh my God, it's going to be so difficult. Others don't do it. So I try my hardest to get them to understand, look, it's not about the crazy workouts. And I try and reel them back. Mm-hmm. It works with some. They buy into the process. Others, they don't, because, you know, they still, in their head, they still think that we have to do these crazy workouts. Mm-hmm. But I give them the option, but I always try and shift their focus towards nutrition. So when you were going through these crazy workouts and you ended up puking up, right? What was going through your head in terms of how come I'm not losing a ton of weight when I'm doing this kind of training?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it came down to not appreciating how the process is holistic. Okay, it's not just about jumping up and down in the gym. You have to change other factors as well, you know, around you. So yeah, when I was going to the sessions, I was giving it my all and stuff. But when I would then come home, you'd have this sort of feeling of entitlement that, oh, mashallah, I've done, I smashed it today, if you like. And then you can go and smash whatever food you want equivalent, that's equivalent, because you have this sort of thing. And then you'd be broken for 3 days as well. So I think that was the part of the problem as well, that you had no nutrition, no nutritional benefit. I mean, it's one of the points I mentioned earlier as well, that I suppose sidetrack Adam by, but I got to the point where I thought to myself, Amjad, you know what you need? You've had a PT, it's not worked. You've tried to do this whole nutrition thing by which you're going through MyFitnessPal, it's not working. You need a psychologist. You need a psychologist to be able to change your mindset. And there was actually a time where I was thinking, I need to go for some sort of cognitive behavioral therapy by which I need to change how I'm thinking. But that's important as well, because you're going and doing these crazy exercises and stuff, but it's not doing anything for you because you're coming out of it absolutely broken, and then you're going in not changing the way you're eating or anything else. So I know, keep saying it, keep emphasizing it, but it's a complete process. It's not one isolated thing that you need to do to be able to achieve your goals. Our community really needs this. They really, really need it, because look, even if, for instance, let's say I had the physique of a kind of elite athlete, right? Even if I had that, I would still be at a risk of diabetes, because all of the risk factors are not in my favor. So I'm, Asian background, family history, genetics, so on and so forth. Okay, so we're already losing a battle, regardless of how much exercise or how well we eat. So does that mean we just give up? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that we obviously try to limit the damage that we can by eating correctly, and kind of moving in the right way. So our community is crying out for this. And just on the point of going back to the no curries point, I think a lot of this kind of no curries point comes from kind of PTs, nutritionists that are not basically from the Indo-Pak background, because to them, in their mind, they perceive a curry to be what you get from rush home at 3 a.m. And if you're talking about that curry, then absolutely you need to cut that stuff out. And you can continue this process by not changing your cultural norms and by enjoying a banging curry.
I don't know if you checked some of the latest recipes. If you haven't and you didn't manage to download it, let me know and I'll get it to you. There is and I mentioned it to Ahmad the other day. There's a curry I managed to finally replicate, like proper British Indian restaurant curry, but it's British Indian. It's the Bengali version. So you'll see when you go to curry, there's two versions.
I don't know about
that. There's the Pakistani version. There's the Bengali version as well. The Bengali version is it's more made for the wider public. For want of a better word. So so that I've managed to replicate really well, to the point that if you were to get like a curry from any Bengali British Indian restaurant curry, to compare that, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And there's nothing unhealthy about my version. So if you can try that, and I put some pictures of it once on my Instagram. It looks the part as well. Surprisingly, without that much oil, it looks the part as well. And I thought you'd need that oil to give it that shiny, attractive look. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that I've missed out that you'd like to talk about?
Jazakallah khair to you, and congratulations for kind of setting this up, because it's very, very important for our community. And the real pandemic is in our community that we really need to kind of look after. People are focusing so much about what's in the vaccine and what's not in the vaccine. Like, look what you're putting into yourself on a day-to-day basis instead. This really needs a lot of work. Previously, you've mentioned that people may have an issue with you making this sound like a religious process. And I'm going to say this, and for clarity of those watching, I'm not being paid to say this or anything, that this is completely and utterly a religious process. There is nothing in this process which is not to do with our religion, because our great teacher, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, tells us that we have to be people who are healthy, be people who are upright, and we all, everyone knows that the hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where he says a third for food, a third for air, and a third for water, and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself, he was a physical a physical man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so the whole process is a religious process because we're trying to achieve that, be it inwardly or outwardly. Okay, so that's very, very important as that process. And and those who do join, then just remember that that it's a holistic process. You have to include everything in the process. It's not just one specific thing. And for me personally, what have I changed? If you wanted to summarize it into one word, I would say it's my mentality. Changing your mentality, changing your mindset is what will perhaps help you to kind of achieve these goals. If anyone has any questions that they want to speak to me about rather than you, because they might get a bit scary, I don't know, then by all means do kind of let me know. I can help as best I can. I'll speak to Majid, actually. He's the real sheikh in it.
I mean, no, alhamdulillah, you both have really embraced it. I mean, Majid took a second try. You embraced it the first time round. You embraced it completely. And the reason you managed to make such amazing progress, I'm going to repeat that again. You're down 22 kg. And that's in pounds. That's like 44, 45 pounds. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. It's 2.2 pounds per kg. So if you looked at in pounds, it's even crazy higher. But when I looked from your beginning to this end, in the 12 weeks, you lost over 3 stones. I think you were touching on 3.5 stones. Right? Now, to lose 3.5 stones in 12 weeks, it's absolutely possible if you embrace every aspect of the process.
Yeah.
And you did exactly that. You embraced every aspect. You trusted the process and you just did it. You didn't make excuses. You didn't look for another shiny object somewhere else. You thought, okay, this is the process. I'm going to do this. Whenever you needed clarity, you asked me. I told you, and you just got on with it. So a lot of credit to you as well. Sometimes I have to keep messaging brothers. Where are you? Do this. Where are you? Why are you doing it? Come on. I'm here to help you. Have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? With yourself, I didn't have to do any of that. Just ran with it.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, a lot of credit to you. And I also want to tell the brothers in the group who might want to join as well, that you're there in the group to support them. Once again, so they get support from me, they get support from Majid, they get support from all the other brothers that have achieved as well. No one's gonna leave them on their own and run away with their money or scam them or anything like that. It's a genuine process, and we genuinely care, and we genuinely want to help. But we can only help those who are willing to help themselves. If anybody does sign up to the process, they have to correspond with us. They have to speak to us and take action. And you can't throw money at your problems. If you have no intention of taking any action, just throwing money at your problems isn't going to solve it. You have to take action. You can take a horse to water, you can't make it drink. There is a proven process and a formula, an absolute blueprint right here with this program, and we're always refining it. It's pretty much refined as much as it can be already, but we're still adding more in, just because, like the most recent thing we're looking at now, Majid is actually making this. Like you said, we know that meal plans are not the answer, but still a lot of people ask for absolute meal plans, like this many calories, this food, this item. So Majid is actually in the process of, because Majid lost about 20 kg as well now, so he's going to replicate his entire meal plans, all his meals that he eats, calorie counted, everything, and he's going to make that, and we're going to put it into the program available for anybody who asks. So anybody who says, well, okay, I want a meal plan, really rigid, fixed, there you go, get on with it. And I had this conversation with him today. I said, look, I bet you $1 million they're not going to follow it. Because I've seen this. I've been in this industry for long enough, and in the beginning we used to do our meal plans and stuff. And I see it. Like you said, their excuse will be, oh, I never had cucumber in the house. Oh, I don't like olives. Oh, I don't like this. Or I've never had this. I never had containers in the house. Or I never had.
No, that's not excuse. Everyone's got containers in the house.
I honestly, when I used to work with other coaches, even recently, I've heard people say, I never had this seasoning in the house. Or maybe that's a genuine excuse, but they never had certain seasoning or certain one ingredient in a massive recipe, one ingredient, therefore I just went out to eat. I didn't. But it just sets people up for more excuses, I think. A fixed meal plan just sets people up for more excuses. It's better that we just modify their existing way of eating and make that healthier. So it's not a massive overhaul.
Another point I wanted to just mention Adam, quickly is that you speak a lot about kind of eating food which is halal and tayyib. Okay, halal and tayyib. So we have halal. Everyone hopefully eats halal, but we have something which is tayyib as well, which is wholesome. Okay, so not only is the food legal, it's also good for you. It's good for you. So like you can get kind of takeaway food from whatever, from the fried chicken shop. It's halal. Is it tayyib? Probably not. Okay, both are mentioned in the Quran side by side, halal and tayyib. Okay, now this comes down to the value of food as well. Okay, the value of food. So just quickly, like I used to go to Costa on the way back from Jummah, and I used to get this almond bake, right? And I used to get it with a flat white. So in total, we're probably talking about 700 calories. Probably, I don't know. You speak to Malik. He's the calorie expert. 700 calories. Now, firstly, I'm eating that in the car on the way back. I'm steering with my knees, right? Don't tell anyone. Steering with my knees, and I'm like eating, drinking coffee with this hand and eating this almond bake with the other hand. And I'm thinking at the end of it, I've consumed 700 calories, right? I'm not even full, right? The only benefit I've had is that temporary kind of fix on the lips, right? And I'm unsatisfied. And is that halal and tayyib? It's probably halal, but is it good for me? No. Those 700 calories, I can place them elsewhere. So now I'm at a phase where, let's say, I have the option to eat that almond bake, but on the flip side, my daughter has spent hours and hours making, some cookies for me, for example. I value those cookies more than having some random food made by some industry from Costa, which doesn't benefit me. He don't know me. I don't know him. He's got no love for me. I've got no love for him. Whereas I value her cooking because I can taste the love in it, So it goes down to firstly making sure your food is halal, making sure it's wholesome, but also making sure it's being made and prepared in the right way. So that you need to, it's a bit hard to explain, but eating in the right way by which you can feel the love there, and really kind of, in essence, what I'm trying to say is eating food with value. So I value her cooking than I do anybody else.
I'll give you the word you're looking for. I remember we emphasized food taqwa as well.
Aywa, yeah.
Food taqwa and being conscious of all those things. So everything you mentioned there, I would say comes under food taqwa.
Absolutely, yeah.
And in terms of going for that flat white and the almond every time, if you're doing that every single time, you're simply just giving in to your shahawat. You're just following your desires because you're not hungry, and there's nothing wrong with eating foods that are junk every now and again. Like I said, we're not the food police. We're not like the wellness cultists who say eliminate everything and you have to just eat. We don't do that. But if it comes to a point where it's really having a massive detrimental effect on your health, now you've got to question yourself, like, should I be chasing the shahwat all the time? That's when desires become problematic. Satisfying desires. Even, I'm going to go on a side. For example, we're allowed to satisfy our sexual desires in marriage. But if we exceed the bounds, then it's problematic. So with your food, eat food that you enjoy. Have some foods that are treat foods and things like that. But if you exceed the bounds to the point where it's harming your health really badly, and then the far-reaching repercussions of that, like if you carry on down this road, what people fail to realize is, look, you're okay today. We carry on down this road. You've already had the warning signs, right? And like we said, our genetics are already put us on a back foot. Now, and we can see people around us getting diabetes in their 30s, people on heart attacks in their 40s. We can see that all around us. And now with the obesity and COVID and all the rest of it, when we can see that around us, like, how much more warning do we need to think, to take care of that?
Yeah, I mean, just on that point as well, like I as I said earlier, that I work as a pharmacist, and quite commonly I'm seeing patients in their mid-30s who are at a very kind of, a very serious state of diabetes. So they're taking like 3 or 4 tablets, and the next step after that is insulin, and it is nothing other than a lifestyle. And this is mid-30s, and this is real. This is happening. So again, to anybody listening, we really need to take kind of a grip of this and be able to really kind of take charge, because it's not looking good for us at the moment. But we can kind of we can control it as best we can.
And from insulin, next your cells start dying.
Yeah.
There's risk of blindness, amputation, impotence. It's just downhill. It's downhill from there, isn't it, really? And then it puts them at a much higher risk of heart disease and strokes. Thank you for your time. This has been a really valuable video. And you're in the group, and anybody watching this can reach out to you in the free group. And if the clients they need more help and clarity with what they need to do with the program, they can ask you in the clients group as well.
Yeah, please feel free, by all means.
Yes.
I'm here to kind of assist us in whatever capacity I can. Nothing too complicated, because speak to Adam otherwise. But if it's just for any general questions, then by all means do kind of give me a shout, and I can help as best as I can, inshallah.
And once again, thank you very much, Amjad. Inshallah, as soon as we organise our Fit Life Mastery events, inshallah, once that's in the pipeline, once that's organised, we can have big meetups with all the brothers, and inshallah, national events and hikes and whatnot. Inshallah, that's all in the pipeline.
Sounds good.
So I look forward to meeting you in such events, and even our socials that inshallah we're going to arrange as well.
Yeah, we'll go for doner kebabs, yeah?
Yeah, once in a while, not a problem.
No, I look forward to it.
Have a lovely day, Amjad. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Jazakumullah khair, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.